All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Listen In with KNN. I hope you all are enjoying this brief, little, beautiful Thursday that we're having. I'm very excited to bring in our special guest. Thank you all so much for your patience. It's appreciated. So without further ado, let me bring on none other than Mr. Mick NFL. And we will get things started.
Called for the arrest of Travis McMichael and his father, Greg, who's a...
All right, Donovan, can you hear me?
I can, finally.
Perfect. Finally, we did it. I was like, if anybody knows about, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. It's you.
Absolutely. How's everything going?
Everything's great. Thanks so much for joining me. You're in Arizona right now, right?
I am, yes, indeed. So good morning.
Perfect.
Out this way.
I know. See, we're almost at lunchtime, but for you, it was well worth the wait. How is the family? How are the kids?
Everybody's doing well, just quarantining and just making sure we're doing the right precautions, but just going every one day at a time and just enjoying the time spending together. And I think that's the most important thing and the thing that we can really do at this point.
Yeah, I think it's all about that togetherness. So tell me, have you had to transform into this teacher mode now with your kids? Are you Donovan at home now? How's the online learning coming along?
You're still dad. And yeah, you become teacher and mentor and role model and example setter and trying to get them going.
Yeah.
So we make sure we have obviously classroom and then we have a little gym class every now and then. So it's just exciting time for us spending together. Obviously here in Arizona where it's 100+ degrees and we're dealing with that. So
yes.
I think there's other worse things to worry about than that.
Completely agree. Well, thank you again so much for joining me here on Listen In with KNN. And one of the hottest things being talked about right now, Donovan, is your hometown of Chicago. As we all watch The Last Dance together, we're reliving these moments. And especially for a 90s baby like me, it's great to kind of be immersed in these things. When I was younger, I didn't get to fully experience. So give me your thoughts on seeing your city of Chicago in the spotlight and watching and reliving the Chicago Bulls team.
For all Chicago Bulls fans and Chicago sports fans in general, we already had an idea of kind of the ins and outs of what was going on behind closed doors, but now it's more in depth, and I think we're all starting to appreciate a little bit more of what the players were going through. And then also for Phil Jackson, I mean, we all were a little upset, just like Mike was, when Phil wasn't coming back for that following year and the team that we had. Now, obviously, being in the business, learning the business, for me playing myself, you kind of reflect on it now because you understand that, when the guys get older, you bring some youth in to try to provide a little spark, but you just don't kind of end the whole dynasty that you built and that everyone got excited for. So, I know there's some mixed emotions of the way Mike has handled this whole deal. And, nobody wants to hear anybody else but Mike and Scotty pretty much. So I think he's just telling us the real, and some people can't handle the real, and I think that's kind of what you have to take from it. But I think this is one of many in the future to come when it comes to talking about players, dynasty and legacy, to franchises from when they started from the top and they ended up obviously dropping to the bottom and where they are now. So this is a great start for the NBA, and we appreciate them moving it up because, man, I'm tired of seeing reruns and old movies, old TV shows.
We've seen it all now, right? We want sports back. We need live sports back, and I'm pretty sure every NBA player agrees with you. Did you at all catch any of the NBA horse competitions? I'm curious.
You know what? Not to downplay it, but it was pretty awful. I mean. And the tough part about it is obviously camera angles and then delay. You would have loved to see that maybe in one particular site, or possibly, they could have been, different angles of recording, and there were video crews there. It just seemed like it was somebody holding a camera phone to an iPad. Then it was delayed, then the shot was missed, and then the reaction was kind of whack. So I appreciate their efforts.
Yeah, I think they tried, right? They're trying to bring us something. I mean, now at the countdown, NASCAR, we have Korean baseball. I have we're all still talking about MJ off the basket. see into why he gets some of the criticism that he gets for not being, I guess, more. If you had any thoughts like that, do you think it's really so that MJ kind of stays out of things and it's just the man and puts that first, or would you have liked MJ to use his platform more to kind of about more social justice issues and do just more?
You're breaking up a little bit, but I definitely got the.
All right, can you still hear me now?
I got the gist of what you were saying. I think one thing we have to understand is, there were different times in the 80s and 90s, and now we kind of look at LeBron coming out to speak for Hillary Clinton and speaking for for whoever in the political issues, and then also the social issues. At that particular time, that wasn't what we look for our athletes to do. I didn't look for Michael Jordan to come out and speak on political issues because, for one, I can guarantee you this: people in Chicago weren't going to vote for whoever he came to speak for. They were going to vote for who they knew were going to obviously treat them in a way where they can live a safer life and a comfortable life and be able to accomplish different things. And then secondly, I looked at Michael Jordan, just like he talked about, as a basketball player. And that was the guy who I watched, sitting on my couch with my family, watching the games played. If it was at night or if it was on Sunday afternoon or maybe whatever, maybe they were playing. And so I understood kind of his aspect of things because he wanted to focus on his craft, being perfect at his craft. And you can't slight a man for that. You can't slight a man because he didn't stand up for somebody for probably he didn't really know. So you can't speak up for somebody you don't know like that. Their political views may be some of the such that you agree with, but there are also probably some things that you don't agree with. So I think what we're doing now in the world today is now we're starting to compare so much of LeBron James and Michael Jordan because of this documentary. Now everybody's trying. Now this is why LeBron is the GOAT. Why? Because he spoke up on political issues. Because you have to think about it now in the 2000s and 2010s and 2020s. Yeah, it's pretty easy to talk about some of the social issues because they're right in front of our face with social media. So you see police brutality. You're seeing African Americans out there getting treated as such, and people are speaking up for it, wearing shirts and warm-ups and speaking on social media. Yeah, that's something I think Michael Jordan would do. And another thing about Michael Jordan that people don't really give him credit for, a lot of these issues that's been happening, he's donated money, to different situations that's happened, and that speaks a lot of volumes. Where you don't always have to be on that front line to be the one kind of pointing the finger and doing all. Yeah, Michael Jordan is one of those silent guys who doesn't want all the credit when he decides to donate money and time, to different situations. And I think that speaks louder than you getting in front of a camera and then you talking about something, and then all of a sudden you want people to remember you doing that. And it's not about the situation; it's more about you and your image and your likeness.
Thank you for just diving deep on that. And I think your thoughts are just so well taken. And again, I think everybody's different, but I do think we live in an era now, especially because of social media, that people are expecting athletes to kind of be outspoken on topics. We want to know your stance. We want to know where you stand. And I think they get a lot of slack for that. And I think LeBron now has emerged as kind of this leader and this voice. And I think, a lot of players are looking at him to kind of set the tone and the guide. And it seems like the NBA, though, it seems like those athletes and those players kind of feel more comfortable doing so than when we look at a situation like the NFL. And I'll just bring up the Colin Kaepernick situation. So I appreciate you diving deep into that.
Well, I'm glad you did, because what happened with Colin Kaepernick? When he spoke out on issues, he hasn't had a job since. So, you look at the comparison between he and LeBron. LeBron is worth $1 billion. So if anything was to happen as far as LeBron and, decision making for his future, he's fine. Kaepernick was still trying to play football, and he still hasn't had a job.
Yeah. And just on that, do you think we'll ever see him back in the NFL, or do you think those days are over for Colin Kaepernick?
It's tough drawn right now for Cap, to be gone away from the game this long. We know the situation of why, and each year in and year out, we continue to try to figure out why, and can you just give him an opportunity?
Yeah.
But I think at this particular point, it's going to be tough drawing for him. If he can at least get a tryout, I mean, we seen what happened when they tried that aspect, and that went south. But if he can at least have an opportunity to maybe get into a mini camp or something, then we'll see what happens from there. But I just think it's tough drawing right now.
Yeah, and I appreciate, again, your context on that, and especially you as a Black quarterback that played in the NFL. And let's just get on that topic. So, of course, I think it's been a topic that's constantly talked about. We saw ESPN's The Undefeated do the piece, the year of the Black quarterback. And I think right now in the NFL, we're seeing Black quarterbacks excel at exceptionally level. You have Patrick Mahomes, you have Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, just so many. And just going off of that, I think you had tweeted something, and I love you for this, Donovan, because you go at the Twitter trolls and the Twitter haters. You're not afraid to at them and speak your mind, which I think just deserves so much props. But you talked about Andy Dalton's contract, right? And then we talked about Jameis Winston's, the $1.1 million to play for the Saints and be a backup. And then we talked about Cam Newton still out there like, hey, anybody want me? Right? I'm still on the street. So kind of dive into that and tell me, what do you think the current landscape is for Black quarterbacks in the NFL?
Well, I think the current, going back to the evolution of the Black quarterback, it's funny when that whole segment came out and they wanted myself and Randall and Cordell and all of us to be a part of it. The thing that I asked them was, well, the evolution of the Black quarterback happened way before me. And so just because in this time where you have a lot of the millennials and Generation X players or just people in general, they don't know who was a part of my era, let alone they definitely don't know the part of Warren Moon and Randall Cunningham and Doug Williams and those guys who really kind of carried the torch and passed it on to us. So what we're seeing now is, we're seeing a little bit more of the opportunity being there, but you got to remember, it wasn't an easier path for them. We're still trying to figure out why the Chicago Bears didn't draft Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes. Lamar Jackson, they were saying he wasn't going to be a quarterback, and it took one person, and Ozzie Newsome, to be able to take that chance. And then Harbaugh changing his offense to cater around his abilities. The same could go with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes was a guy that came out of Texas Tech where everybody was calling him pretty much a gunslinger that's just kind of, a 50-50 guy. And Andy Reid took a chance on him just like he took a chance on me. So I think the landscape of the league right now is just as it was as such. It's nothing that is anything that's different like that, because then when you go deep into the backup roles, the backup roles are the ones that really you look at and you say, wow, there's not a lot of African-American backups in the league compared to a lot of teams in the league. But again, I know the problem that it went when I went after, a few people, and I love playing with people. I don't take it personal. I just love retweeting dumb comments and everybody else chime in on it. But the whole thing about it is everybody went racial with it, and it wasn't racial by any means. All I did was just spit the facts that was presented to us. Andy Dalton got his contract. Jameis Winston signs for New Orleans. Cam Newton is unemployed, and Dak Prescott's still trying to get a deal. These are the things that are presented to us. And then I'll add another one. Joe Flacco doesn't even have a job.
There you go.
Super Bowl champion.
With the Ravens,
Super Bowl champion. So I'm just in the landscape of where the quarterback situation is at this particular point. Because you brought up something that's very, very key that people don't really focus in on. The collegiate level right now has a lot more African-American quarterbacks playing in the collegiate level. That they'll have more opportunities, hopefully, to come into the league.
And when we talk about the collegiate level, and we'll talk about a team that you obviously know very well, the Philadelphia Eagles, we saw Jalen Hurts get drafted by them. We saw a lot of comments when this happened. Some are saying they didn't see the fit. Others are saying, well, hey, I think I see the fit. Nick Saban is saying, I think it was a great pick. I think he can fit in well there. So first, I want to take you just through the mind of a quarterback and just keep it as real as you can with me, Donovan. Carson Wentz, when that pick happened, what goes through a quarterback's mind when you see another quarterback get drafted and you're still in your prime trying to do something special with a team?
Let's be honest. It's just like anybody in a 9 to 5. You've been working extremely hard. You're getting credit for what you're doing. The boss is showing you love as you're continuing to progress in your craft. And then you turn around and all of a sudden somebody comes in at your position. Like, not only that, but, he or she was kind of sought after as one of the top kind of employees to be, to sign with the company. You're going to look around like, whoa, I understand you said this is a need, but did we have to take them right there? Like at this particular price, what I'm getting paid, and then you bring them in. So, emotions get involved, and people may look at it in the situation of depending on who it is, they say, oh, he's sensitive. No, it's just, you got to understand your job position and what that role may look like now going further in the locker room. Because if you do kind of slip up, so to speak, and then all of a sudden it's kind of, well, let's give this guy a try and see what they can do. Now, how does that make you look now? So I just
Right.
think for Carson, I mean, playing the position and not only playing the position, but being there in Philadelphia, I know exactly what it will end up if, certain situations happen. Now, as far
Right.
as the pick, if there was a glaring need that they needed a young backup who can come in and be able to provide something if things were to happen. And I like Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, it goes beyond football with me with Jalen Hurts. I love the way he carries himself. I love his leadership. I love his determination. I love the way he prepares. These are things that I know personally from talking to him and then also watching him
Right.
throughout his career. So I'm happy that he had the opportunity to be able to come into a situation, at that particular pick in the second round. People were saying he was probably going to be drafted in the fourth round. He
Yeah.
was the fourth
Yeah.
or fifth round pick maybe. And then he went to the combine, which fortunately for him and fortunately for a lot of players that they were able to go to the combine and display their talents. Those who were not had their pro days set and their pro days were canceled because of the pandemic. So that's why they suffered in the draft. So, it kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of different situations. But as far as Carson is concerned, Carson will
Yeah.
be fine. He just, like I said in an interview, he's just got to kind of put his nose to the ground, just think about himself and stay positive, work extremely hard, and just go out and just play the game for you.
Yeah, I love what you said. And then now let's go to Jalen. So Jalen in this backup role, what does he have to prove to the fans of Philly, to the Philadelphia coaching staff to prove that he belongs there, hopefully for a long time?
To be honest with you, he doesn't have to prove anything to the fans right now. What he has to show the coaches that he's coming in to get prepared. He's coming in to compete. He's going to be well ready. And I say that because here's a guy that I told you, he's a little different. He's not like
Yeah.
any of the normal guys coming in. Hey, I'm so happy to be here. Shake the hands. Oh yeah. Look, he's gonna come in and be ready to grind it. And so
Yeah.
he's older. He's more mature. Remember that. He's a graduate
Mhm.
transfer, so
Right.
he's older and understanding. He's played at a high level. He's played at Alabama. He's played at Oklahoma. So he understands the value of the quarterback position and the preparation that it takes for that. So I'm excited for him because I kind of know what his mindset is coming in. He's not coming in
Yeah.
to just settle to be no backup. I mean,
Yeah.
who wants to do that? He's coming in to compete, to push Carson, but also in that aspect to be prepared for any and everything that he may be faced with.
And just staying on the backup quarterback role, RG3 recently tweeted that he felt disrespected. So we're talking about someone else who's in a backup role. Of course, he's playing behind Lamar Jackson. Lamar just had an MVP season. I don't know the context of that, but you as a quarterback, and again, I don't even know if you've talked to RG3, but what do you think he meant by that?
Well, I mean, that's something that I think you have to ask him for. And that's the thing, too, because when we start to kind of interpret somebody's thoughts, then we kind of go left and right. And, I just witnessed that whole deal myself recently.
Yeah.
But I can't speak for RG. But one thing I can say is in the backup role, you tend to be forgotten. And you got to remember who was rookie of the year, who led his team to the playoffs,
Yeah.
who battled injury.
Right.
Then he was in Cleveland, then he was in Baltimore, and he's resurgent. His resurgence, I think, in his play has shown something that Baltimore really likes.
Right.
I mean, they put him on the field with Lamar Jackson to come up with different packages.
Yeah.
So I think I won't say that I'm interpreting his thoughts, but as far as where he's at in his career, because remember, he's still young.
Yeah.
I think RG might be about 27,
Right.
so
Not 30 yet. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, he's still got life ahead of him in football, and maybe in the next year or two, he could become like Teddy Bridgewater. Fill in, get him some games, show that he still can play, and then he'll become a starter somewhere else.
And just staying with maybe starting somewhere else, I just had to get your thoughts. Cam Newton, do you think we'll see him start this NFL season, or do you think he'll have to learn to embrace the role of a backup like we're talking about?
Well, I think he'll be a starter somewhere. Embrace the backup role. I don't see. This is the thing that people tend to kind of misconstrue a lot of times. Embracing the backup role is not so much, hey, I'm coming in to be the backup. I'm just gonna chill. No, that's not it. If you're coming in there signing you to be their quarterback, you're going to compete for the starting spot. No matter who it is, you're going to compete. So now the coaches feel comfortable, no matter if the quarterback's struggling or he gets hurt, that you can slide right in. Like that's the reason they brought you in there, not just to fill a void or warm up or do scout team reps. That's not why they brought you in. They brought you in as the half starter, so to speak. And I think Cam will get that opportunity. And I know people want to look at Cam as his big personality and things like that. Listen, Cam is a quarterback in the 2000s, and he was MVP. He was Rookie of the Year. He went to the Super Bowl. He's won 10-win seasons a few times, and he's battled some injuries. But we focus on the injuries so much, we discredit a lot of the rest of the resume that he has. So I think Cam will have an opportunity. He understands his role a little bit more. And when it comes, that'll be simplified for him wherever he decides to go.
Nice. And then I want to stay with the quarterbacks just because it's such a fascinating conversation. I want to go to Washington, a team that you also have familiarity with. The Washington Redskins, of course, Ron Rivera is at the helm now. Dwayne Haskins, for now, the starter, but I think there's still questions around him. And Ron Rivera has been getting those questions. Hey, your guy Cam is out there. Do you think the Washington Redskins at all make a pitch or try to go after Cam Newton, or would you like to see them develop Dwayne Haskins more in his starting role?
I personally would like to see them develop Dwayne Haskins in that starting role a little bit more. And it's nothing to do with Cam if he came in to push him, because that may actually help him. But they did trade for the quarterback who filled in for Cam. And they brought him in the backup role. So now once you go get Cam, so now you got pretty much like Carolina all over again out in Washington. But the way that I look at it, Dwayne Haskins has all the tools to be successful in the NFL. He was a rookie last year, and it's unfortunate and it's unfair to a lot of these rookie quarterbacks because they're thrown into the fire so fast. And being in Washington in a situation like I was, where all of a sudden, these leaks start to come out from comments made by coaches, comments made by personnel, and what they did was they basically just downed their quarterback that they drafted in the first round. Talking about he could learn the offense, he couldn't do this. Well, wait a minute. Now, he's a rookie, first of all, learning a new offense, which he was very successful in Urban Meyer's offense. But in your offense, it may not be comfortable for him yet, or he's not suited for it yet. That's why you build your offense around your talent, not so much your talent fits right into your offense. And so that's what coaches don't understand right now in the NFL. They don't understand it in a lot of professional ranks. When you get new talent at that particular time in the draft, you're getting him to be the face of your franchise. So let's make him feel comfortable and make sure we do some of the things he's comfortable with, and everybody else will fall through. Then you can expand the offense.
And I think just going off of that, you talked about coaches building that talent around their quarterbacks. Here in Baltimore, I think that's something that John Harbaugh has gotten credit for and the job that he did with Lamar Jackson. Do you think the Ravens are a good example of that relationship between John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson of building talent around your quarterback to help them find success?
Well, I think there's a plan, and I look at it in this way. And it's funny, remember we talked about RG. I think there's a 3-4-year plan here. Will they continue to run the offense in which is kind of comfortable for Lamar and expand it as it continues on, open up a little bit more of the offense, but still keeping in the intact of what has been successful for you? Remember, RG3 won Rookie of the Year running kind of what he did in Baylor. Then all of a sudden he came out and said that, his dad said something like in GQ, like it's mobile quarterback definition says not a winner or something to that effect. And then they tried to evolve the offense quickly and just kind of get rid of what he did. And it was a different type of player that we've seen. So I think it's a 4-year plan for them to see, okay, this is what's made us successful. Let's continue on this path. They drafted Dobbins from Ohio State to run the football because they're a running football team. And then, we'll see as far as what they do to expand a little bit more at the receiver position. Although they lost one of their tight ends, I think they'll fill that void again. But continue to stay on that format for a 3-4 year period. I think Lamar Jackson he'll evolve. And I think the Baltimore Ravens offensively will be one to be reckoned with, definitely in playoff play.
Nice. And you talk about playoff play and one to be reckoned with. Do you think at all that we'll see Lamar hoist that Super Bowl trophy like his counterpart that he often gets compared to, Patrick Mahomes? Do you think the Ravens have what it takes to do that in the next 3 or 4 seasons?
I believe so. I believe so. And remember, for the whole season, we were saying they were at least. I said they at least were going to get to the finals. I thought they were definitely going to get to the AFC finals, and I looked at it in a way because I thought it was going to be them in Kansas City. You got two powerful offensive teams going at it. I love what I seen with Baltimore at that particular time. Kansas City was Kansas City. I thought they were going to get over the hump, but I look at it in the sense that I think in the next 3-4 years, again, if they continue to evolve, I think you have to also put Lamar Jackson in that category with what we've seen from Patrick Mahomes.
Perfect. Well said. And then Donovan, you got a comment. The show is live. The fans love you. Donovan should coach in the league. Intelligent. You ever
Well, thank you so much.
Are you good from where you are? Would you ever consider that?
Hold on, you broke up. What did you say? Oh, quarterback coach?
Being a quarterback coach in the league.
No. I do a lot of personal quarterback.
They want you, Donovan.
Hey, I hear you, but I do a lot of personal training with quarterbacks now, and I'd rather get them away from the facility because a lot of times most of these quarterback coaches are kind of stronghold a little bit, due to the situation of the umbrella. So now you have a guy who's not in your building, who's not under the umbrella or paychecks, kind of cleaning up a lot of the intricacies that you have to do to try to be prepared and ready in this league. And a lot of high school kids that are preparing for college. And we do a lot of things that pertain to high-level college as well as NFL stuff, so that they'll be well prepared, not only from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint too.
Nice. And I love that you're doing that. And just kind of staying on the topic of getting Black coaches in the NFL, it was recently announced that Green Bay Packers head coach Thor did a minority coaching fellowship. And of course, when we talk about Black quarterbacks, we also talk about Black in the NFL. Is in the NFL.
Well, I look at it in the sense that, and hats off to Matt LaFleur, of being able to try to create this position for a good friend of his. Now, I believe he went to school together. They went to school together. He played wide receiver with him, with Matt LaFleur. But this is the issue that I have with it. Why does it have to be known as the minority position? It's just like the Rooney Rule, where pretty much it was, giving African Americans an opportunity. How about just making an opportunity for them to come in and be coaches? Why do we have to label it as such, as a minority rule? Like that right there, that kind of discredits the position. Because, from the outside, people are looking at it like, he's not really a coach. I mean, they brought him in just because of the minority rule. That's unfair to the individual. Right. So I think, it should be one that they need to be interviewed just like anybody else. And yes, you need to have a percentage of African Americans on staff, but why are we labeling it as such? Let's just this is our coaching staff, and these are his qualities, and this is why he's here.
Nice. Well said. I had to get your thoughts on that because we're staying with the topic. I'm going to go back to one more comment from one of your fans. I saw you trained Khalil Donovan. What do you think about his prospects?
Well, I think Khalil's a great athlete. Khalil has suffered through this whole pandemic because we weren't able to have his pro day. And we were set to have his pro day. I was going to control it. And it was more or less he would have an opportunity to show he can throw the ball from the pocket. He can throw it with timing, throw in anticipation. He can change the tempo of his throws and to make all the throws, intermediate, short, as well as deep. But he never got a chance to show that. So they went off of the tape in which he's had about 3 coordinators throughout his career, at University of Arizona. He was a Heisman Trophy candidate under Rich Rod. Kevin Sumlin came in. Things didn't look as crisp as they should. And I think he suffered from that. And he also signed to be with the Philadelphia Eagles. So that was one in which, once it happened, I got a chance to talk a little bit to Howie Roseman, just try to figure out their mindset and what they're expecting from him. And they're bringing him in as a receiver/quarterback. So maybe he'll have opportunity to just show that he can throw the ball and play, kind of learn from that aspect of it. And then also do some things to kind of just be able to be a contributor with the football team.
Nice. And then I do want to talk the NFC East because we have to with your background, but I do really want to go back to the quarterback situation. Jameis Winston is one I would love for your comments and feedback on. Do you think this backup role with the New Orleans Saints, and I know you had tweeted that, you think it's good that he can learn from someone like a Sean Payton. Do you think that's the right next step for Jameis to extend and prolong his career in the NFL as a quarterback?
You know what? When it happened, I congratulate him because I thought it was a great move.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great move because Sean Payton is a great coach, one of those masterminds. Jameis is a great talent.
Yeah.
He put up so many yards last year, and it wasn't so much, look who he was throwing to. No, a quarterback has to make the plays.
Yeah.
Now, we can focus on the 30 interceptions, and Sean will get that cleaned up.
Yeah.
But you got to look at it in the aspect of Drew Brees probably has one more year left.
Mm-hmm.
He has one more year and he's going to go on the TV. So this is a great role for him to slide into, learning under Sean, watching Drew, because Drew and he are very, very close.
Mm-hmm.
They talked all throughout his career, but this is a great fit for him to be able to slide into a role where he's not 2-3 years off from being a starter.
Right.
It could be 1, maybe 1.5. And he's going in with Michael Thomas, with Kamara,
Mm-hmm.
with weapons on the offensive end. So it'll be interesting to watch.
I'm fun. It's going to be fun. And then talking about what's interesting to watch, I also got to get your feedback. Tom Brady now as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. What can we expect this upcoming football season? Should we have a football season?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. They better finish at least 10-6. If they end up being 9-7 or 8-8,
yeah,
that's not going to fare well.
Not at all.
We also got to take into account, first of all, Tom is old. I should say Tom's young like myself. Because I think Tom is 42. I'm 43. And Gronk has been out for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Gronk was beat up the last couple of years. And who's to say that Gronk's going to be able to finish the whole season? Who's to say Gronk, body won't break down? Like, there's a lot of questions in this. And then the offensive line was a little shaky. And you got, Godwin and you got Evans. Don't get me wrong. And I like, OJ playing the tight end position. But it seems like it was just kind of thrown in, putting pieces involved in it. And now someone's going to take the hit of their time being limited. Defensively, they played well toward the end of the year. Can they keep that up? So I just think, right, for me, they're the number 2 team right now in the NFC South, behind New Orleans.
Wow.
So, you got to take into account there are a lot of other teams around the NFC that are balanced. Are they better than San Francisco? No.
Yeah.
The Rams, if the Rams kind of turn back things around. So there's a lot of key factors in this whole deal. But I look forward to Tom representing for the 40s.
For the 40s, 40 and over club, right?
You know it.
He set the bar high, so look, he has a lot. And one more question for you with the quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes, some are saying that this Kansas City Chiefs team still looks pretty good, and that maybe, just maybe, they might be able to do again what they were able to do this year with winning the Super Bowl. Do you think we'll see them back hoisting that trophy, or do you think it's not so easy so soon for the Kansas City Chiefs?
Well, it's not so easy in this regard. Number one, injuries play a major factor. Number two, do they have the depth? If they do kind of, miss out on some of their key players. Number three, it's hard to repeat. And you got to look at other teams that are trying to gear up to battle with them, not only just across the league, but in their division. The Oakland Raiders to the Chargers, to, going all the way to Denver. There are a lot of key factors in this whole deal. Now, I love what they have, and obviously me being a big Andy supporter, I think, it was one special deal, the way they play on offense. But can Steve Spagnuolo and that defense kind of repeat what we've seen to the later part of the year with pressure and being able to cover on the back end?
Yeah. And really quick, I also want to, you're in your 40s now, but of course we just had the NFL draft. So I'm going to take you back to your 20s, Donovan. When we had this NFL draft, seeing these players, this virtual draft, I'm just great thoughts. It was for them. Or do you wish they had the experience much like all the other great players had entering the NFL?
You broke up a little bit, but I know what you're talking about. I think if you can hear me?
There we go.
Okay. if we would have had the virtual drafts back then in '99, I think it would have been a little more controlled. I know for a fact that some of the moms and dads would have had some of those folks in the house at that particular time, like it was about them. I mean, it was
Oh
so
yeah.
funny, from cell phones getting snatched to moms throwing girlfriends off of laps. Because that's mom and dad's time too. This ain't the girlfriend or the
Right.
whatever. So it would have been more controlled. It would have been also like
Yeah.
a little mini party. I mean, you think of in Chicago, we probably would have had some Chicago style pizza and some chicken wings.
Yeah.
Dad might have been on the grill earlier getting the meat right. We would have been classy, while the
Yeah.
camera was on. But then we would have got down afterwards, I'll tell you. But it
Of
takes
course, as you
it
should.
you have to, what I'm saying? We would have had the Kool-Aid going, for those in the 90s. See, y'all little young babies, y'all don't know about that Kool-Aid. We had that Kool-Aid and
Look,
that
I
orange
love
crush
Kool-Aid.
and
I still
Fanta.
drink Kool-Aid.
There you go. We had that orange crush and Fanta popping off. We'd have been right.
And then I mean, so the NFL draft was, I mean, it was different, obviously, but it seems like
Yeah.
they still were able, and I actually liked it in the fact that we were able to see those cell phones getting snatched. We got to see their houses and the family. We got to see some of them with over 10 people. I'm not snitching, but I'm just saying some of them did have over 10.
Listen,
I'm
you just
taking
made me
facts.
drop my earbud. That was funny. Yeah, there was a limited social distancing popping off right there at the house.
But just going back to the draft, who do you think, who do you think had the best overall draft in terms of the NFL teams?
You know what? I think I give credit to the Dallas Cowboys. I thought they had a pretty good draft where they focused in on some offensive weapons and then they went defense. Also, you have to look into San Francisco and with the way San Francisco went about their draft.
Yeah.
Give a lot of credit to John Lynch. He
Mhm.
filled the void at D tackle, and then I think he went a couple more pieces on defense, provided a spark on offense. So that was one. Baltimore did a good job as usual in the draft, I thought. But then you look at teams like Jacksonville, you look at teams who really need help in certain key positions,
Yeah.
and you wonder why they did that or what. I know a lot of people want to say, well, what about Green Bay? Green Bay did what they needed to do for the future.
Mm.
Like that team that they had last year playing
Yeah.
under Matt LaFleur in that offense, it wasn't so much of the Aaron Rodgers show anymore.
Yeah.
It was about the running game, the intermediate passing game, being methodical, moving the chains, and then defensively getting to the quarterback. And that's what that was last year. And yeah, you've seen a little decline from Aaron Rodgers. And then now you have to look into account, what are you going to wait for Aaron Rodgers to be like Tom Brady and be like 40, 42 to get a quarterback? They went after a young quarterback that he can kind of learn under Aaron Rodgers. And that's what he did with Brett. That was the same thing he did with Brett, and he stepped in. And, we see what we have for Aaron.
And staying on the draft, we have a question for you from the fans. What do you think about Chase Young heading to the Washington Redskins?
I think Chase Young is a game changer. I look at Chase Young as more like a Javon Curse. Now I hope he stays healthy because that's a lot of wear and tear on your body playing at that end position. But I look at him being more like a Javon Curse, more like a Bruce Smith, so to speak. And he can be a super game changer if they have the rest of the three guys on the line to be pass rushers and also fill the void in the inside to stop the run. But that was a great pick for the Washington Redskins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, believe me, there's lots of happiness here. They're expecting Washington to do big things. And curious, which player do you think will have the biggest impact coming out of the draft with their team?
You know what? It's tough to say because a lot of the guys who were drafted in those early picks were void fillers. So they were guys who could come in, play in the slot. There were guys that would be rotational running backs. There were tight ends that can come in to be the second tight end right now, not the first. Offensive linemen that can actually start. So I would probably say if there's any the kid from Georgia, I think the tackle from Georgia who was drafted early, I think he's a shoe-in, and he'll probably be a Pro Bowler in his first year. But also take into account another team that I forgot to mention, the Cleveland Browns had a really good draft too. From
Yeah.
the pieces that they already have, they got guys that are coming in to start right now. And I think that says a lot
Yeah.
about where they are at this particular point with their new GM. But it's
Yep.
just we have to wait and see what they do on the field.
Nice. And it's exciting to actually, I feel like, hear that Cleveland might do well. I think you just made a whole lot of Cleveland Browns fans happy. And now, of course, talking with you, we have to talk NFC East football. Do you think the Philadelphia Eagles made the right draft picks in the sense that, do you think they'll be able to lead the NFC East come next season with the weapons that they have? Or do you think we'll see a new champion come out of the NFC East?
I think they have what it takes to win the NFCs. Obviously, they won last year. So I think they have what it takes. It's gonna take some time with the new pieces that they brought in on the offensive end and kind of figure out where they're gonna fit in, and what position they're gonna have them at. Deshaun Jackson's coming back off of injury. They traded for Goodwin, from the San Francisco 49ers. Can he stay healthy? We already know about Rager and his speed downfield. Hightower, the guy they drafted, I think out of Boise State, he's a route runner. And then they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with Alshon Jeffries. Are they going to keep him? Are they going to, cut him? What that situation is like? But then also you got to look at where Dallas is. Dallas. Only thing that we're talking about Dallas is the Dak Prescott situation. We're not talking about their defense. We're not talking about any pieces on offense because they got a center to replace Fredericks that he retired. They went and got CeeDee Lamb on offense. And defensively, they went and got their corner. They got their pieces they needed from that aspect. And I'm sure, when people get cut, they'll bring some free agents in. But you got to count where they are right now. The Washington Redskins got better in the draft. And so we'll see kind of the evolution of where, Haskins ends up. That's going to help. Daniel Jones, the same way. Now, I was questioning some of their picks in New York, but you still have Saquon Barkley out in the backfield.
Right.
You have Shepard at receiver. You have the receiving core. Now, defensively, where will they be defensively? And that's really their issue. Because I think Daniel Jones is going to take another step further. He just has to protect the football. But I think defensively, where are they going to be? So it's going to be a tougher division this year. May or may not be a new one. I don't know right now. I want to see how they play in the first 5 to 6 weeks of the season to make an evaluation.
Nice. All right. I have a fun one for you, Donovan, really quick. You talked about the NFL draft. We were talking about the Cowboys. Who had a better setup? Jerry Jones on the yacht or Cliff Kingsbury out your way with the beautiful mansion out in Arizona?
Well, what was that last part you said after Cliff Kingsbury?
I said
your way. Out my way. Hey, Cliff thought he was slick. Cliff was out there stunting. Cliff was stunting.
We were all jealous.
And you're lucky they didn't angle the kind of to the right of his backyard, because I think that was a pool setup where pool and hot tub, the jacuzzi. Listen, we out here in Arizona, man, it's about 85, I think, around that time. He had that sun blazing with the little laptop out like he was really doing some work. Yeah, he was out there stunting. He was stunting. Now, Jerry, we already know Jerry got his yacht and he paid some millions for it. We know that. That's nothing. And plus, he wasn't even in the sexy section in the boat. Like, you gotta have it where the glass and you got your champagne in the back with your trophies. He's sitting on the couch part. Yeah, he's sitting like on the back part in the couch area. Like Cliff Kingsbury was stunning. He was.
I was jealous.
Yeah, he was Big Willie, because that whole back setup was glass.
It was beautiful. It's beautiful. We can all live like you all in Arizona. I guess that's the moral of the story.
Hey, don't hate the player, hate the game. You know what I'm saying?
I loved it. What about you? Did you have any fancy draft setup when you were watching, or was it just more chill?
Oh no, I was worse than Jerry. I was sitting on my couch in the family room with the flat screen going. That's it. It was boring. It was boring.
Too funny. Do you watch it with your sons? What was that experience like?
Well, it's on for so long, so I can't really get them to sit and watch for that long.
You were like Roger Goodell each day.
He'll come, he was walking back and forth, and he was like, "Oh, he went there," or "Oh, they got him." Like, so he was interested, but it was like, "Man, I'm going to play Fortnite. Forget all this."
Well, I want to get you soon back in the 85-degree weather, but I really appreciate the time being with me. But I have to ask you, I want to talk about the Eagles really quick. Just give me some of your overall favorite memories with the Philadelphia Eagles and what that organization means to you. And please end it with, what do you want your legacy to be when people think of Donovan McNabb as a Philadelphia Eagle?
Well, I mean, the memories that I have is the locker room. The memories I have were training camp, where guys were pushing each other and we're laughing, joking out on the field when we're not involved in practice.
Yeah.
Guys getting together, go to the movies, spending the night out where we just kind of go to a movie, then we go grab some dinner and
Yeah.
sit down and just cracking jokes until curfew. I miss the travels
Mhm.
of going from east to west, those long trips, sitting on there playing cards and cracking jokes. And, when we land, we go to dinner out there. We still have that relationship with each other, just reaching out
Mhm.
to each other. And that's things that I miss as far as the game is concerned. And you see, I never mentioned anything about the
Yeah.
play. It was
Right.
more of the camaraderie, the family situation that we had. My legacy, I want my legacy to be about my work. I want my
Mhm.
legacy to be about how diligent I was about being prepared,
Mhm.
the grind that I put in the weight room, out on the field, and just kind of preparing myself to be better than I was in the previous season. I
Right.
want my legacy about my winning. It's
Mhm.
about the winning percentage of how you're defined
Yeah.
by the quarterback position. We look at stats, and for certain people, but for others, it's kind of like, oh, well, it was a time where they threw the ball a lot.
Yeah.
It's those are things that are kind of cemented in the books, and
Mhm.
those don't change.
Yeah.
So I just want my legacy to be about my leadership, my hard work, my dedication, how I prepared, and how much fun I had.
And just staying with your quarterback legacy, I just want to really go back to quarterbacks in the current game. Do you think that the rules are too soft now in protecting quarterbacks, or would have liked to see some of these rules back when you were playing in the league?
The game is softer. The
Mm.
game is softer, and I understand they're trying to take care of the players, but it's starting to get out of hand.
Yeah.
Um, No, I was a part of the Brady rule, which
Hmm.
I never got that call. Just so people know,
Yeah.
anybody got hit in the quad area or the knee,
Uh-huh.
or flag was like getting thrown everywhere. It was like frisbee. But I get hit in the head, I get hit in the leg, and I look at the ref,
Yeah.
and they look at me like,
Like, sorry.
yeah, oops. But I think the game has gotten softer, where it's
Hmm.
tough for a lot of defenders to still stay aggressive,
Yeah.
because some of the hits, it's like, oh, that was helmet to helmet. It's like, well, if you're coming in for the hit as a
Mhm.
ball carrier, you're gonna cringe and defend yourself, and yeah, that's gonna end up being a helmet to helmet or helmet to the jaw or whatever it may be. So the game has gotten too cautionary, I think,
Mhm.
and it's carry on in college. I mean, if a guy come in to have an aggressive hit in college, he's thrown out the game, and he's probably suspended for the first half of the next game, depending on where he got suspended in that game. So
Yeah.
it's just tough. It's tough drawing for football right now,
Hmm.
because if you play defense, it's gonna be really rough for you, of how you play.
All right, two more questions for you. One, I want to go to college football and really the NFL as we're thinking about possibly pushing the college football start back to the spring as we deal with COVID-19. One, could you imagine college football just being shifted back? Or are you more of a fan of us playing without fans in the stands to protect the fans and just still put the product on the field?
I think early on, if this is kind of continued at a stalemate, so to speak, I think they should play without fans.
Hmm.
And the game must go on.
Hmm.
And one thing we have to understand is, um, yeah, from the realm of, yeah, it's about the fans and the excitement, and yeah, but it's also about the game.
Yeah.
And so as we continue to evolve and we open up more, yeah, we can now start to bring in fans. But the question now is, if they do start without fans,
Hmm.
and then now kind of, I wouldn't say the gates open up, or when we start to allow fans to come in, how do you now kind of break it down of how many actual fans you have, or do you just open the floodgates and let everybody come in? That's
Yeah.
the tough part of just kind of that whole process of when you do allow fans.
Hmm. Right. It's just, it's scary. But I think it's weird because, of course, so many players are, of course, saying, like, it's going to be weird not playing without fans. And I'm sure you can attest to this. But you kind of feed off that energy, right? Especially playing somewhere like Philly where you have such energetic fans, who are rooting for you. And that was a good way of putting it, right? Energetic fans that just, they want to be, they want to be involved in the game. And just before I let you go, I have to get your thoughts on this. So for players that want to be like you, Donovan, or players in the NFL, and we saw the demise recently, of course, we saw the Arena Football League go, we saw the XFL come back and go bye-bye. We saw the Alliance of American Football also go. For players out there that still want to find a way to the National Football League and are done college, what do you think is the next best step for them, or what would you like to be like to be seen done to help this talent get discovered?
Well, I think first and foremost, I love what they did by, they tried to start the combine for the HBCUs. I think that's a major step because, not a lot of people are watching a lot of these historic Black colleges on BET or watching them on these other networks. So for a lot of organizations, they send scouts out that are regional to be able to recruit those particular players. But now you get a chance to get them on a platform just like most of these Division I players. These guys in the BCS, they get that combine, and then also now the HBCUs get their time where the scouts and coaches now get a chance to watch. I think also for a lot of players to be discovered, I think, us as media members, and I say us because I still do a lot of stuff with the media myself, we need to start to highlight a little bit of some of these small school players. I've seen something recently where Mel Kiper said his one of his top quarterbacks next year is a kid from North Dakota State. This kid is young. I think he's a redshirt sophomore or so to speak. And he had a great year last year. He's athletic. He kind of reminds you a little bit of Cap, the way he plays the game. I'm a little bit more polished probably from the passing situation, but that's something that I think as media members, we need to go out and look at some of those diamonds in the roughs and talk about them a little bit. And then thirdly, I think everybody needs to have the same platform or the same level playing field to have that opportunity, be evaluated the same way. Don't just kind of look at somebody else differently than the other because of their size or their speed or whatever it may be. Playmaking is something that you can't coach that. That's just something that people have in them. And so now you try to fit them into what you do, and then you kind of evolve around their talents. And I think that's something that gives them that same opportunity as everyone else.
Nice. Well said. And Donovan, before I let you go, any last words for the listening audience and your fans?
Well, I mean, just kind of keep an eye out and an ear open for a lot of new players that have come out. I'm working with a lot of different guys from the quarterback position. Also, I think for a lot of where we are right now in the world, continue to show your appreciation for all the ones on the front line, all our doctors and nurses. Continue to pray for them as well as you're praying for your family, that hopefully things will work out for the better. And maybe in the next month or two, we'll be in a better place at this particular time.
Perfect. Well, Donovan, thank you so much for your time. I truly enjoyed this. We'll have to have you back. This was a great conversation. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. All right. You have a good one.
Thanks. You too. All right, for everyone listening, thank you so much. Be sure to catch the next show, which will be at 6 p.m. this Thursday. I will be welcoming former NFL player Bert Grossman. You can catch the show on YouTube Live. You can catch it on Facebook and Twitter with Periscope. Tune in. It's going to be a great conversation. And with Bert, we're going to talk about the NFL schedule release, which will be happening at 8 p.m. Again, former NFL player Bert Grossman will join me tonight. And then Saturday at 2 p.m., Greg Young, the father of Chase Young, will be live with me on the show. We'll talk all things Chase Young, the Washington Redskins, and lots more. You won't want to miss it. Thanks so much for joining, and stay tuned. Have a great one. Make it a fabulous Thursday.